All right, welcome back. How about this? BlackRock, and you've heard of them, right? We talk about it on this show. That's the world's largest money management firm. Well, they plan to lay off some folks in the next few days, and it's going to be about 3% of its global workforce. One possible reason for the layoffs is that BlackRock, after years of huge growth in assets under management, that's AUM they call that, they're easing into a more of a mature phase of their business, or at least that's how they say it. Yeah, not so fast, right? Well, BlackRock finished the third quarter of last year with $9 trillion in assets under management. And though the firm has seen some significant asset declines since it did reach its peak of more than $10 trillion in assets under management in 2022. Think about how much money that is. Wow. I mean, our deficit is $34 trillion. Boy, oh boy. Recently, BlackRock had been attracting attention, rightfully or wrongfully, for its affinity for ESG investing. Remember, environment, social, and governance investing? We don't like that. Well, lately the firm has been de-emphasizing their ESG business in this new era that also seems to be de-emphasizing DEI too, right? Is there a bigger movement afoot here? Is this just the tip of the iceberg? Call it what you like, but it's still a bunch of job losses for the world's largest money management firm, right? My next guest has been highlighting this for some time now on this show. Please welcome in Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, you were the one that led the way on this ESG investing and the 15-minute cities and the DEI. This is right down your alley. I mean, they're saying that they're kind of just stepping back and kind of getting into a more mature business, but they were kind of a touchstone or the place that everybody was looking at when they were getting angry about this ESG investing.
Yeah, and when they say, Scott, that they're stepping back, what they mean is they're stepping back in the United States of America on ESG, because they are still going full force in Europe, where it is part of the normal corporate parlance now, just like DEI is and corporate social responsibility, CSR is. All of these acronyms, ESG, DEI, and CSR, they are all three cousins of the exact same thing, which is taking profitable companies and turning their focus away from profitability and more towards social goals and social governance, and to achieving through private corporations what the government might not be able to achieve on its own without corporations basically really creating the inability for customers to go anywhere else. And I'll just remind you, they did this in 2020 with the pandemic, Scott. Remember when we had basically everything shut down, and then you had only the winners picked by the government of who could open because they were essential, right? And I mean, what was essential? I mean, you had bars that were essential, but, local mom and pop shops weren't essential because you had Walmart, 5 miles down the road, and Walmart was essential. Home Depot was essential. So you have the government picking winners and losers when they are controlling capitalism like this. And this is exactly what we're trying to get away from. But let's be clear. I love the DEI breakout that we had between Musk and, Dallas Mavericks owner. Thank you, Cuban. I mean, it's great to see this debate because Musk can come out and say no, and even others like Bill Ackman coming down and saying, I went down. I mean, he had a huge X post about DEI and how it is atrociously hurting Americans, and that was on X. So if anyone wants to check that out, go read his rant on X about DEI and how horrible it is for corporations, because when you start saying that we have to have X, and this is where it's going. Look at California. We have to have X percentage of African Americans on the board. We have to have X amount of women on the board through legislation. When you start legislating how private boards are run, and then of course, Scott, with back to ESG, the whole thing that we could never get past in America is that boards of directors for publicly traded corporations have a fiduciary obligation to maximize shareholder value. And what they were trying to change it to is maximizing stakeholder. And stakeholders are not just the shareholders, but they're also the community that the business operates in, the environment, all of these other things, the government social programs. So you could basically legislate to every shareholder if that's what you start basically saying your board has to be made up of. So all of this is a tax on the American capitalistic, map that we have made and been successful with the ingenuity of Americans. They're attacking it because they cannot bring down the success of capitalism, Scott. So they have to make it look worse than it is by doing these things.
Well, one thing I love about this job, Rebecca, is that our viewers love you because you've got common sense and they've got common sense, and it seems to be not so common anymore. But are there enough common sensocrats out there that can push back on this? Because I get the feeling that DEI is starting to fail. There's some cracks there. There's definitely some cracks in ESG. There's definitely some cracks in electric vehicles, too. I mean, look at what all these things, these social conforms that they're forcing upon us are really starting to not fit the average, everyday, common sense person. Real quick, 60 seconds. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think, Fox News just had a guy drive a Tesla all the way from Chicago back to New York in the winter and found that the projections were completely off on the mileage left. And, this just goes to show you what I got scared of is if you saw that Julia Roberts movie, Leave the World Behind, the new movie on Netflix that came out in December, it was really scary what they did with the Teslas. They had hackers that hacked into the dealership that basically sent all of the Teslas to the roadways to back up on each other and basically block the major roadways. So you could see a situation where electronic vehicles can be hacked and basically taken over by nefarious actors and parties, and then you don't even control your own car. So We're starting to get away from control, and we need to get our control back to the American people.
It's already happening. I mean, I saw them in Scottsdale, those Waymo electric driverless taxis. Once they get to an area where they lose reception, they all stop where they're sitting, and they cause a huge traffic jam. I mean, what you just said is already happening. It's amazing. Oh, boy, I tell you what, you and I are going to have lots to talk about for a very long time. I love having you on. The viewers love you, too. Thank you very much for all your content and for coming to us. Rebecca Walser from Tampa, Florida. She's with the Walser Wealth Management Group. She started, all right.